Here we are again, guys. Okay, so hopefully now you've had some practice simplifying fractional things, rational expressions, multiplying and dividing. The key to everything is factoring. So now the tough part, we have to add and subtract. And you know that when we work with fractions and we add and subtract, we have to get a common denominator. So here's a simple grade school problem, okay? 3/8 plus 5/12. Can you figure out what the common denominator is? I'll give you 15 seconds. All right, I know Bitson had it 10 seconds ago, but that probably wasn't 15, but did we all say 48? No, that's not it. It's 24. Now that was an easy one, right? Don't know what your strategy is. You probably take the larger number, start going through 12. Okay, 8 doesn't go into 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 8 goes into 24. I'm done. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit tougher because 72 doesn't go into 150. So then you say, all right, 150 times 2 is 300. Does 72 go into 300? I don't know. Then you got to go to 450 and keep trying. So we need a strategy for these. So here's the strategy that I am going to show you. Okay, and it all comes down to factors. So do you remember the old factor trees we did in elementary school? So if I factor 72, 8 times 9, that's 2 times 4, and 3 times 3, and then this breaks up into 2 times 2. So my final factors are 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. All right, let's do that for 150. And remember, to start out, you can pick whatever you know are factors. So I'm going to pick 15 and 10. Now 15 is going to be 5 times 3. 10 is going to be 2 times 5. And you stop once you get primes. So here's my factors. Oh, I should do these in another color. Let's do green, 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 green. Okay? Now, to find the least common multiple or the least common denominator, all right, we need to take every different factor that you see there, the most number of times it appears in any one denominator. So let me write that down. Take each prime factor, the most times it appears in any one denominator. Okay, so I see 2. So I'm going to take 2, and what's the most number of times 2 appears in any one denominator? 3. Only appears once there, so that tells me I need a 2 to the third in my common denominator. Then I see a 3. It appears once here, twice there, so the most number of times it appears in any one denominator is 2, so I take 3 squared. The only other factor I see is 5. It appears twice, so I'm going to use 5 2 times, or 5 squared. This then will be my common denominator. So can we figure out what that is? Uh-oh. So this is going to be 8 times 9 times 25. 8 times 25, I can do that. That's 200 times 9 tells me that this is going to be 1,800. So that's pretty big. I don't know that we would have found that out the other way. So remember what I wrote in green there. So now let's try doing these. So you guys, let me give you a few seconds, or a little bit, maybe a minute or two, see if you can try to find out these, okay? Okay, let's see. If you did the prime factors on this, that's 6 times 11, so 2 times 3 times 11. Am I good there? This is 6 times 9, so 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. So if I'm finding the least common denominator, I need each factor that appears the most number of times it appears in any one denominator. So I see a 2, but it only appears once in each denominator, so I only need one of them. I see, 3 appears 3 times, so I need 3 cubed there, and then I need an 11. So whatever 18 times, nope, that's not 18, 2054 times 11, that's your LCD. Okay, let's do this one. This is 3 times 25, so this is going to be 3 times 5 times 5. This is going to be 5 times 21, so that's 5 times 3 times 7. Okay, so what's my LCD going to be? I'm going to need how many 3s? 1. How many 5s? 2. And how many 7s? 1. Okay, so whatever that is my LCD. All right, so let's move along. So that was 5th grade. Now we need to amp this up and start throwing some variables and some polynomials in here. So here's my first one. This is sort of maybe 9th grade-ish. We can handle this. Now remember, the key here was to break up the denominators into its prime, what's the key word? Factors. So here, I want you to think of this. Well, we can just keep this as 3 times x squared times y to the 3rd. This I would write as 3 times 2 times 2 times x times y to the 5th. So my least common denominator is going to be every factor I see, the most number of times it appears in any one denominator. So I see a 3, but it only appears once in each denominator. I see a 2 appearing twice. All right, now what are we going to do with the variables? I've got an x squared and an x. So what's the most number of times x appears in either denominator? Twice, so I need an x squared. Y, most number of times it appears is 5, so I need a y to the 5th. And that tells me my least common denominator is going to be 12 x squared y to the 5th. So that one wasn't too bad. Those were just monomials. That's pretty easy. So now let's really get in the groove and look at this one. You can't do anything till you find the factors. And some of you guys were struggling on the factoring when we were doing simplifying rational expressions. So let's look at this first denominator. How am I going to factor it? You got 3 methods. GCF, difference of 2 squares, trinomial reverse FOIL. I'm going to take a GCF of 2 out. So what are my factors here? 2 is a factor, x minus 1 is a factor. Got to go over here. Got to factor this. This one's going to be x minus 3, x minus 1. So there are my factors. Here's 1, here's 1, here's 1, here's 1. So every different factor I see needs to appear in my LCD the most number of times it appears in any one denominator. So that tells me at least I see a 2. Now so I need a 2 in there. Now don't say, oh, well, don't you need a 3 because you see a 3 there? No, because 3 is not a factor. X minus 3 is the factor. Okay, so then I see a factor of x minus 1. Remember, you got to take the whole parentheses or no part of it. And since it only occurs once in each denominator, I only need it once. Here, I need an x minus 3. And there I have my LCD. Not so bad. Okay. Now, we got two more. These are a little tougher. So 9x squared, the best I can do there is that. How am I going to factor that? These are the ones you guys are messing up on. Now, it's not a trinomial. It's not the difference of two squares. I'm going to take out a GCF. GCF is 3x times x plus 1. So now, to get the LCD, all right, what do I have? I have a 3, and it appears twice there, so I need a 3 squared. I see an x squared and an x, so I need an x squared, and then I see an x plus 1. So this would be 9x squared times x plus 1. Okay, last one. Here we go. I'm going to take a GCF out of this one. So that's going to be 8x. And remember, always take the greatest common factor out, not just a common factor. So not just 2 or 2x, but 8x. And that's going to leave x minus 2. Okay? Now over here, that trinomial is going to be a pain to factor with that 12 there and that 72 because they have a lot of factors. But are you clever, guys? What could I do first to make this a lot easier? I don't hear anybody. Trenta, wake up. Okay, I'm going to take out a GCF of 12. Now the trinomial becomes very easy to factor. X plus 3, x minus 2. So now what's my LCD going to be? 8 is 4 times 2, 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. So what do I need in my LCD here? I need 2. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back. This isn't just 4 times 2. We got to have primes. 2 times 2 times 2 times x. So how many 2's do I need? 3. Okay. I need 1 3. I need 1 x minus 2 because that's the most it appears, and I need an x plus 3. So I could also write that. That's 8 times 3, 24, x minus 2, x plus 3. Okay, so we're going to stop here and not even start adding them together. There's a homework you're going to do that's just on finding least common denominators. So we'll wrap this video with this, and you're going to work on the worksheet on finding least common denominators. Okay.